Welcome to Healthy Conversations, sharing the knowledge, experience, stories, and the wisdom of herbalists and other natural healers, with your host, Stephen Horn. Today's guest, Brigitte Mars. Hi, and welcome to Healthy Conversations. With me today is Brigitte Mars, a fellow professional member of the American Herbalist Guild and a longtime friend. And she has a new book on mental and emotional health, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Topic I really enjoy, and we're going to address the topic of anxiety. There's a lot of people out there who suffer from various anxiety disorders and just feeling way too stressed. So, Brigitte, when you're dealing with somebody who has anxiety and a lot of stress, where do you start?
Well, when you started asking me that question, I thought that a lot of people start their day with anxiety when an alarm wakes you up to like some shrill noise and you're coming out of the dream world. It's like, oh my God, the police are here. There's an ambulance, a fire. And so, people wake up panicked in a sense because it's very startling. And so, if you do need to wake yourself up to an alarm, you want it to be like chill music, or actually, something pleasant. And I'm a big believer, Stephen, in getting ready for the next day the night before, because people will have problems sleeping and they're thinking, oh, my socks don't match. And
So you don't think watching the news about all the difficult things going on in the world before you go to bed is a good idea?
Probably not. Although I do, tune into the news, and it's the toxic media is going into us all the time, and so we really, even if it's not the news. I mean, we tried to find a movie on Netflix. Let's find one that's not about a war or murder. And it's challenging.
Or suspense or something horrible and bad happening. Right?
Yes, and then even things when we're talking about consciousness, when music is really fast, and you go to a place to eat and they're playing really fast rock and roll. It's your heart can take on a pattern. Maybe you've been at a concert where you can feel the music coming up to the ground and into your body, and it takes over. And so so that's where it starts. But so getting ready for the next day, the night before, maybe you need to get up an hour earlier so you have time for yoga, a good breakfast. Maybe you've already packed a healthy lunch. So you have a little time for you, because so often we hit the ground running. And for those of us that have teenagers, if they would lay out their clothes in the night before, there'd probably be a lot less fights in the morning. You're not going out dressed like that, or like, where's my homework? Or, where's my, sports shoes or whatever. So I'm big on that. But then we also know that anxiety is more likely to occur like in the form of a panic attack when people have low blood sugar. So if people are skipping breakfast or just having caffeine for breakfast or caffeine in a sweetie thing, pastry or a donut, like what's going to happen is you're going to cause your blood sugar level to rise, and then it's going to crash, and the world's coming at you and you're going to feel more panicked. So that's a problem right there. So I think it's a good idea to have some healthy snacks with you. I often, carry a few Brazil nuts with me because, it's high in fat and you can eat 3 of them and that's kind of good for a while. But
that's something I like to snack on too, is like Brazil nuts or macadamia nuts or something like that, just for, quick energy during the day.
Good fats, protein. I know they don't come from where we live, but we're doing our best. We're going to eat a lot of wild greens that grow in our area. But another quick fix, because I dealt with someone having an anxiety attack at a concert the other night. And I do want to say that I think the music had a lot of energy that really wasn't godly. It was kind of really scary to me that this fills an auditorium. I don't think this is really high vibe, but we were, my friend had driven other people there and we couldn't just leave. Otherwise I would have left. It was sad. But this was my quick fix. Okay. Smell some lavender oil. Keep some lavender oil in your pack or whatever, because you're freaking out. I said, don't look at the screen. Don't look at the concert. Like just focus. We're just going to breathe. We're going to pray. 5 deep inhalations of lavender oil on each nostril. And I like to say you could go down Freak Out Freeway or you could go down Lavender Lane. And Lavender
Ah,
Lane is
I
much
prefer
more.
Lavender Lane.
I like Lavender Lane. And the other thing, I don't think I have any right in front of me, but 2 drops of rescue remedy. We ended up administering the wonderful Bach flower or batch flower remedy. I think it's actually said batch, but Americans always call it Bach flower remedy. So you know what I mean. If you don't know about rescue remedy, it's a miracle in a bottle. 2 drops
I
under
have
the
seen
tongue.
Rescue Remedy do amazing things in really difficult situations where there, an accident or something like that. And I even given it to people who didn't think it would work, and it
Mhm.
still worked.
It's amazing. Yes, I've given it to pets. And then, let's say you don't know somebody and they're not going to, here, just take this. I mean, it could be LSD or something if you don't know. So you could
Right.
just put it on your pulse points or,
Hmm.
a third eye, central.
Right up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it on your neck. Even just massaging. Another remedy, and in my book, Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health, I have all these like really easy things you could do. Another folk remedy is to hold your thumb with the opposite hand. Just holding your thumb can help
Mm.
promote anxiety. And very often, when we're anxious, our heart starts racing and we start breathing really shallowly, but maybe very quickly because we're trying to get more oxygen. And of course, aromatherapy where we just take some deep inhalations is going to encourage us to breathe more deeply. It's going to encourage us to, smell something. And our nasal cavities are in such close proximity to our brain that can have an immediate effect. I'm also open to using a calcium magnesium powder, which gets absorbed really quickly. Magnesium is going to help relax the muscles. It's going to nourish the brain. That can be really helpful. But I do think that our culture, there's a lot of things we can be anxious about. I mean, if you watch the news, it's like we're on the verge of war. The economy is going to collapse. Maybe there's going to be civil war. The power grid's going to go out. And I do think it's good to be ready for anything. And that is one of the virtues of herbalists. We usually know, like, there's things you can eat that are growing out there. We shouldn't be spraying pesticides. But, even things like creating a more serene environment. I often ask my clients, is your home neat or messy? And when we live in disorder, we have too many things, we can't find anything. That's going to be
Hmm.
anxiety promoting. So in my book, I talk about the ancient art of feng shui and the art of placement. It makes it a lot easier to find what you need, get rid of clutter. Clutter can be overwhelming. If you can't find anything and things are falling on your head when you open a cupboard, like that's not conducive to a serene mind.
Now, I learned a little technique, what you're talking about, the breathing, where you inhale thinking, I am, and exhale, relaxed.
Oh,
And just do that like 5 or 6 times. I am relaxed. I am relaxed. And it's amazing what that will do to calm your nerves down just to get
I
that.
love.
And one other thing that I often do is I started out majoring in broadcasting. And one of the things they talked about is you could have a demonstration of 10,000 people who were completely peaceful. And over in one corner, 10 people get into an altercation and a fight starts. Okay. The camera is going to zoom in on the fight, and that's going to make it look like the entire demonstration was like that. And I've taken that to the world as a whole. The news always is zooming in on the bad things that are happening. But if you take like what Eckhart, I think it was Eckhart Tolle said, what in this moment is lacking?
Mm,
What right now in my life, here in the place where I am, is wrong? And usually it's nothing. We're just looking at the trouble spots in the world and thinking that that's the way everything is. And it's never that way. And if we just take the time to stop and think, hey, I'm okay. Nothing bad is happening to me right at this moment. A few deep breaths and go on with living our life in a positive, purposeful way rather than worrying about all the things that are wrong that we can't personally solve. Let's make our own little world around us more peaceful, more serene, and that, I think, goes a big way to help the world. Don't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's almost like, you know, a journalist told me that the philosophy is if it bleeds, it reads. You know, it's just,
that's that's a new one for me. Yeah,
yeah, you
it
know, so
is.
mhm.
Yeah. Now, you did talk about diet like blood sugar. I've seen that like have a big impact of anxiety. And you mentioned magnesium. What are some other things, nutritional, dietary wise, that people can do to reduce their level of anxiety?
Well, sugar and caffeine are not the are not going to be helpful in anxious cultures, you know, or anxious situations. So I'm big on eating all the colors of the rainbow, try to eat a salad every day. But, you know, one food that I really love are chia seeds. They're high in
Mm,
omega-3 fatty acids. They nourish the brain. They're rich in protein. They have vitamin E. I love chia seeds. And I think they're probably like a number one survival food because you don't need to cook them. You can just soak them in water and then flavor them, you know, with that, whatever, make them sweet with maple syrup or make them savory with tamari or hot sauce or something. So I like that. And I'm always big on, you know, people eat allergens and things that maybe we know that eating something you're allergic to can cause inflammation in the sinuses, in the joints, but it can also cause inflammation in the brain. And I do think that there's a lot of people that are suffering from mental disorders that really are, people often love the thing that is the worst for them. You know, don't
right.
take away.
Some of the things that you crave that you feel like can't live without are often allergens for
Yes.
you.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I remember Paul Bergner, another herbalist colleague, saying something like, why would that happen? And it's that when we eat those things, maybe it's gluten, maybe it's dairy. And I'm not saying that everyone's allergic to gluten and dairy because not everybody is, or shellfish or peanut butter. But if you eat something that you crave a lot, and if you're allergic to it, it may be causing you to produce more white blood cells to kind of deactivate the allergens. And
Hmm.
so people get a high and a comfort from that immune response. And it's like, oh, with the, you know, the sugar wore off, the bread wore off, the peanut butter wore off. I need to dose again. And it might be the worst thing for us. So I always ask people, what is it that you crave? And that's always something to look at. I remember a woman they wanted to put her child on uh, Adderall because the child had attention deficit. And I said, does your child crave anything? And she said, oh, since she was 1.5, she would just go bang her head on the refrigerator and say, cheese, cheese, cheese. And, you know, a lot of kids, they just want to eat refined carbohydrates, you know, pasta,
Oh, yes.
bread, and crackers and
It's
chips.
extremely addictive, the refined carbohydrates, the sugar, white flour, that kind of stuff. People don't have any idea how addictive that is.
Mhm.
And when I was raising my kids, we didn't have any refined sugar, any white flour in our house anywhere. Uh, and I tried to raise them with raw milk, with a lot of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, that sort of thing. And every babysitter that ever came to watch my kids said, "You have the best behaved kids
Oh,
we've ever sat for." But it's so difficult to do that in this society because the pressure is everywhere. Everywhere you go, you see this stuff, and all their
it's
friends are eating it,
And
you
if you
know.
watch an hour of TV, you've got eat this junk food, take these drugs, as if that's just normal. We're not buying
Yep.
into it, are we, Stephen?
No, we're not. And I unfortunately, all these years I've been like trying to educate people about it. The problem seems just as bad as it ever was, if not worse. So I don't
That's
know. Waking people up to how this is influencing us is a really important thing. Just kind of wrapping this up, what are some of your favorite herbal remedies to recommend to people who are having problems with anxiety?
well, I do like kava kava.
Me
A
too.
wonderful herb, Piper methysticum. Don't the first few times you use it, don't operate heavy machinery or drive because it can make you feel a little rubbery. I found passion flower to be very helpful to calm anxiety. I find passion flower tincture is another good one I like. Chamomile, oat straw or milky oat seed. So there's so many herbs. And I'm so glad when I wrote this book, I have a little materia medica on the common herbs that we use for mental concerns. And, you don't need to know thousands of herbs. You can learn a few. And, if one doesn't work, you could try a combination, adding another. And I do know that sometimes people try an herbal remedy, but they might need to take more of it. For example, a remedy for insomnia, if the label says take 2, you may need to take 3 or 4 or 5. So I do think often the labels are a little conservative. So sometimes you just need to add a little bit more, but they really do work.
Yeah, actually, KP and Kaltz and I talked about that the label claims on most commercial products are very conservative, and often you need to up it 2 or 3, even 3 times what it says to get the effect. And I do that routinely. And people are often afraid to do that because they're so conditioned with drugs, like you take too much of a drug and it's going to cause these problems. But that really isn't the case. If you start off with 2 capsules and maybe you notice a little effect, but it's not quite what you want, go to 4 and just kind of up it a little bit till you get the result you want.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
totally.
Brigitte, I think those are all great suggestions. And I think in today's society, learning to just be calm, be at peace within yourself is an important thing to do for your health. And one other thing I want to comment on, because I've always been big on preparedness. I think it's wonderful being an herbalist. And sometimes when I'm, walking down the street, I think, oh, if there's a disaster, I could eat that. That would be medicine. This would be it, knowing that there's so many things in nature that are there for us. I think it gives you more peace of mind about such things because you have an understanding that uh, nature has a lot of things that we can use even in difficult times. So that's learning your herbs is probably another thing that you can do to reduce your anxiety.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for being with us again. Brigitte's new book with her co-author Christine, how do you pronounce it again? Fiedler.
Crystal Fiedler.
Christine Fiedler. Mental and emotional health. The links will be in the description below, along with some links to contact Brigitte if you want to take classes from her or follow her on social media. We'll get those to you. Thank you for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure too. Thank you.
Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to catch future episodes of Healthy Conversations. Help us educate others by sharing this video, and please feel free to share your own thoughts, comments, and questions below. To learn more, check out the links below.